This is 104.5 WOKV, Jacksonville's news and talk.
Live team coverage starts now.
7:01. Thanks so much for checking out Jacksonville's morning news. It's the Monday edition on this August 28th. I'm Rich Jones. Three big things you need to know this morning. Governor Ron DeSantis urging Florida's West Coast residents to get ready for Tropical Storm Idalia.
If you are in the path of this storm, you should expect power outages. So please prepare for that.
Peak local impacts to be felt throughout the day Wednesday, with winds our greatest threat. The murders of three black people at a General Dollar in Newtown of Jacksonville is being investigated as a hate crime and an act of domestic terrorism. It came on the 60th anniversary of the March on Washington. Jacksonville Sheriff T.K. Waters says the shooter's sickening ideologies do not reflect the Jacksonville community.
We are not a community of hate. We stand united with the good and decent people of this city. We reject this inexcusable violence.
A vigil is planned for 6 o'clock tonight at James Weldon Johnson Park.
Now, weather and traffic from 104.5 WOKV, Jacksonville's news and talk.
I'm Action News Jack's Chief Meteorologist Mike Burrish. Starting to turn wetter in the WOKV First Alert forecast.
Now, First Alert traffic from the Strata Air Conditioning and Heating Traffic Center.
Heads up, drivers heading out of the Arlington area, East Beltway North. There is a crash near the top of the Dames Point Bridge that has the right lane blocked, and it is causing some heavy delays starting at Monument. Your drive from Butler Boulevard up to Heckscher will take you about 18 minutes. And from the FDOT 511 Traffic Center, here's Sherry.
We are still keeping our eyes on a St. Johns County crash. 95 northbound, a vehicle left the road at County Road 210. It's over in the tree line, but so far no delays. And you're also looking good as you approach downtown, so your drive between the Beltway and the Fuller Warren will take you less than 14 minutes.
From the Strata Air Conditioning and Heating Traffic Center, I'm WOKV's Jay Bose.
I'm April Davis. It's 7:03 here on Jacksonville's Morning News. And coming up in just a minute, we'll check in with our consumer warrior, Clark Howard, who is going to check out the risk you need to know about with private investing. And of course, our other big story of the day, Tropical Storm Idalia. It is strengthening and predicted to be a hurricane before landfall on Florida's Big Bend. First Alert Chief Meteorologist Mike Burrish saying our greatest local impacts are likely to be winds and tornadoes.
The damage could be fairly significant for quite a ways inland because this is a swift-moving hurricane. It's quite possible that it's still at hurricane intensity while crossing Interstate 10 west of Jacksonville during the day on Wednesday. And if it is, this really ups the ante on our wind speeds. And so that's my biggest concern, and especially near and west of I-95, where tropical storm force winds sustained are likely now the way it looks. That'd be anywhere between about 40 and 70 miles per hour, but wind gusts of hurricane strength, 74 miles per hour or higher. And it's quite possible, depending on the exact track and strength, that we could have sustained hurricane force winds west of I-95 for a time on Wednesday. East of I-95 to the beaches and along the St. Johns River, you're still going to have strong winds, but not quite as intense because you're further from the center. Some of that, however, will be offset because you have the water nearby and less friction. So still windy, but the greatest wind effects would appear to be inland with Idalia.
Power outages are likely. Rainfall averaging 2 to 4 inches near and west of Highway 301 and 1 to 2 inches along I-95. You can follow updates in Talking the Tropics with Mike, always at WOKV.com as we get through this hurricane season. And you can check it out in the WOKV app.
The FBI investigating a hate crime in Jacksonville. 3 people shot and killed in the Newtown Dollar General Saturday in a racially motivated killing spree before the gunman shot himself. Jacksonville sheriff says he doesn't believe there's a racial divide in our city.
His sickening ideology is not representative of the values of this Jacksonville community that we all love so much.
Sheriff T.K. Waters saying the shooter appears to have purchased his firearms legally and said no red flags would have come up in the shooter's gun purchases. He acknowledged background checks need to do a better job identifying gun buyers with bad intentions.
WOKV Shafalika Botnager joins us live there at the Dollar General this morning. And Shafalika, you're saying there are still police, at least one police car there on the scene.
Yes, April, the parking lot for the Dollar General has been sealed off with crime scene tape. There is one JSO vehicle here, as well as 2 small sedans parked in that parking lot outside the storefront. But the front doors have a metal gate drawn down over them so you can't see inside at all. And right across the street, there are 3 residents that also have police tape strewn across their front yard, as well as a parking lot full of national reporters setting up tents covering this ongoing developing story. Here, yesterday, city and community leaders gathered at the Dollar General to pay respect to the families of the victims, and emotions were high as politicians from both sides of the aisle spoke out against hate to the large crowd of residents. In one moment of bipartisan unity, Councilwoman Jacoby Pittman stepped in when Governor Ron DeSantis was being booed as he spoke.
It ain't about parties today. A bullet don't know a party.
Pittman, along with other city leaders, are going to hold another community vigil tonight at 6 p.m. at the James Weldon Johnson Park.
Thank you for that live report. Shafalika Bhatnagar with a live report from that store at the Dollar General where there's 3 people were killed this weekend.
It is a dry start to the morning, and we're going to be tracking an uptick in rain and thunderstorms by midweek. Chief Meteorologist Mike Burris standing by to bring you the full 5-day forecast and when we expect peak local impacts from Idalia. Set to go hurricane at any moment. WOKV News Time, 7:07.
Now, the WOKV First Alert Forecast.
A 7 on the WOKV weather meter. Partly sunny today, pretty hot again, and a few showers and thunderstorms will develop, but shifting more inland through the day and well west of I-95 by late afternoon. In the upper 80s at the beaches to the low 90s inland, with a lingering evening shower storm inland tonight, otherwise partly cloudy in the mid to upper 70s, and partly cloudy tomorrow. Scattered showers and a few thunderstorms increasing in bands from south to north through the afternoon, highs in the low 90s. And Wednesday will have the most direct and significant impacts from Idalia, with showers and storms, heavy rain, gusty winds, a severe storm threat with temperatures in the 80s. Thursday becomes partly sunny, a few showers and thunderstorms, and near 90. Partly sunny and drier for Friday in the lower 90s. I'm Chief Meteorologist Mike Burrish. Join me today beginning at 5 p.m. on CBS 47 and Fox 30 Action News Jax.
All quiet on the home front right now. We're at 76 in McClenny and Baldwin. It's 78 at Jacksonville's severe weather station.
Now, First Alert traffic from the Strata Air Conditioning and Heating Traffic Center.
For you commuters heading into town from the west side, I-10 East, there are no incidents to report, but I am seeing some morning rush hour traffic starting to build up, starting before Lane over to Roosevelt. Your drive from the West Beltway over to I-95 will take you about 10 minutes. And from the FDOT 511 Traffic Center, here's Sherry.
This right lane crash, East Beltway northbound before the top of the Dames Point Bridge, has you on the brakes to before Murrow as you make the drive out of Arlington and up to Ocean Way. So getting from Butler Boulevard to Heckscher will take you at least 21 minutes.
From the Strata Air Conditioning and Heating Traffic Center, I'm WOKV's Jay Bose.
Check in before you leave the house. Ask Alexa to play 104.5 WOKV.
The news time is 7:12. I'm April Davis alongside Rich Jones this morning, and we have continuing coverage of this mass shooting in Jacksonville over the weekend. President Biden condemning that shooting that left 3 black people dead as a hate crime. WOKV's Trey Thomas continues our team coverage.
In a White House statement, Biden said, as the nation searches for answers, we must say clearly and forcefully that white supremacy has no place in America. Biden noted the act of gun violence happened Saturday as the country marked the 60th anniversary of the Civil Rights March on Washington. I'm Trey Thomas.
And we're hearing from you this morning in the 104.5 WOKV app. Some takeaways that we're already hearing this morning.
We got stupid people strikes again. And stupid people make decisions. And stupid people end up killing people.
And we'll continue to hear reaction coming throughout the morning as Jacksonville's only all-news morning show continues. Yesterday, during the evening hours, a vigil held and hundreds upon hundreds of people gathered in the Newtown area. Governor DeSantis was there, Mayor Deegan. It didn't matter what political party you were a part of. The community came together for healing, for comfort, and perhaps for some understanding. Sheriff T.K. Waters was also there, and I saw you bowing your head in prayer. And Sheriff, this morning, what are the emotions these days later for you as a leader in our community, as a black man in our community, and as the sheriff of this community?
My feelings currently are, I feel strength. I feel supported by our community. I feel the overwhelming desire to continue to fight hard for our community. What happened in Jacksonville, from, quite frankly, someone that doesn't live here, is not representative of our city. I think I expressed that, and I've expressed that over and over again. And I'm proud of our city, and I'm thankful to have such fine people living here.
And Sheriff, what do you have to say? I know this was just something we can never predict and always a terrible tragedy, and we see it too often across the country, but now it's right here in our city. What do you have to say to the families of the victims?
My heart goes out to the families of the victims. I visited two of the families yesterday, spoke directly to a grandmother and a daughter, and just extended my heartfelt condolences. I told them that we are here for them. We are here to support them in any way that we can. They have our phone numbers. Whatever I can do to help them moving forward, I am here to do it. And it's very important for us to stick together and help them get through this process, which is a very difficult process. You often hear people talk about closure, but there's really no such thing as closure. When you lose a loved one like that, it's extremely difficult. It never closes. The wound, you wake up and you think about it daily, and they're in my thoughts. I will continue praying for them and continue to support them wherever they need it.
You heard from the president, I believe, last evening. What did President Biden tell you?
We had a really good conversation. He was asking about the victims. He was asking about how we are moving forward and some of the things that we're doing. And we had a good discussion. And I do appreciate him looking at Jacksonville and reaching out to us. I believe he did also speak with the mayor, but he was very supportive, and I'm very appreciative of that phone call.
The governor at the vigil last evening pledged that there would be an announcement later today about financial support and resources, likely for Edward Waters, then also to families. Did you and the governor have a chance to kind of talk through what that might look like and how much we're looking at?
We talked very, very briefly, I think for probably about a minute while we were standing there. He did mention to me that he was going to reach out and make sure he got some help for EWU. He did not say what that was, so I'm looking forward to hearing what that's going to be.
What's the balance of resolve versus outright anger and just feeling, I guess, feeling that anger for you and for others who were at the vigil last night? How do you balance those?
Well, when it comes to just doing this job, you absolutely have frustration, you have anger, but it's my job to maintain a professional, I guess you would say, strength, visible strength for our community. As sheriff of this community, it's important to show that we're not going to be overwhelmed by emotional things, but we're going to focus heavily on healing our community and doing the very best that we can to continue to take care of everyone in this community.
We heard a lot of the logistical updates from you in the news conference yesterday, so I don't know that we need to go back through all of those things, but the big picture is, have you learned any more in the last, say, 24 hours or so from the family of the gunman, the manifestos that he left behind, on the specifics of that Dollar General and that part of the community? Is that still coming together?
That's still coming together. I'll get another briefing today. I try to give my homicide detectives the leeway to do what they have to do without constantly harassing them. But they'll brief me today on any new updates. Yesterday's briefing was the intent of that was to show the detail of everything that happened, pretty much minute by minute during that 11 to 12 minutes of time when he was inside that store. I wanted our community to know exactly what happened, and we'll keep looking into it. And everything that we'll learn, if I learn more, our community will learn more.
And Sheriff Waters, we keep talking about the victims. Let's identify them. 52-year-old Angela Michelle Carr, also 19-year-old AJ Laguerre, and also Gerald Gallion, 29 years old. So some young folks involved in this. And will you be at the vigil tonight at 6 p.m. at James Weldon Johnson Park? And also, how can people pay tribute to these victims?
Well, JFRD.com has created a donation site so that folks can go there and want to do that. My schedule is pretty heavy, but I do plan on trying to make that vigil if I can. So ultimately, the victims are the very most important thing here. It's not about the bad guy. I do want to shift away from him. He's a disgrace to our community, or to the community as a whole. The actual writings were, what I've gotten through, were disgusting, quite frankly. And there's not much more I can say about that other than they were disgusting. His intent was never good. I don't want to shine any more light on him. I want to talk about our families. I want to talk about making sure they recover. I want to talk about our community and make sure our community continues to recover and move forward.
And I hear what you're saying for sure, but I think what you said over the weekend was very important to understand what his motivation was, that it was racially motivated, that it was very clear from the things that you have exposed to the community from his manifesto, the Nazi swastikas on the rifle that he used, the gun that he used, as well as using the language that you put out there. I think that's important for people to know, that that's not, something that's hidden from the public, of course. But yes, I think the victims now, we can focus on them.
Hey, Sheriff, I do want to ask one note not related to this, and it's preparations for the community in advance of Idalia. I'm sure you're probably headed in to get an update at the Emergency Operations Center. Are you all activating right now, and what might be the message to the community in terms of preparations today before we get into the teeth of this? It looks like late Tuesday throughout Wednesday.
We are meeting today just about noon. I'll be going over there shortly, and you'll hear from us. I think the biggest thing for us to remember, and we deal with this quite often, right? We would never want to get apathetic. We always want to prepare. We always want to make sure that we do everything that we can to take care of ourselves, take care of our pets, take care of our kids, not necessarily in that order. But just be prepared for anything, because you don't know what's going to happen, and do not let apathy set in.
All right, Sheriff TK Waters, I value your time. You've been getting a lot of calls, and we certainly wish you the best. God bless to you and to the men and women at the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office as you continue this very painstaking and difficult investigation. But as the community is coming together and healing together, we want to be an outlet for that healing as well. Sheriff TK Waters in Jacksonville, appreciate it. WOKV News time now, 7:22.
Now, the WOKV First Alert Forecast.
A 7 on the WOKV weather meter. Partly sunny today. A few showers and thunderstorms developing, shifting more inland through the afternoon and mainly west of I-95 by later in the day. Highs in the upper 80s at the beaches to the low 90s inland. An inland evening shower storm tonight, then partly cloudy in the mid-70s and partly cloudy with scattered showers and thunderstorms increasing from south to north through the day tomorrow. Still reaching the low 90s, then Wednesday windy with bands of heavy rain and gusty showers and thunderstorms diminishing by late afternoon with highs in the upper 80s. At the First Alert Forecast, I'm Action News Jax Chief Meteorologist Mike Burrish for 104.5 WOKV.
82 right now at the coast and 78 at Jacksonville's severe weather station.
Now, First Alert traffic from the Strata Air Conditioning and Heating Traffic Center.
We are still following this crash leaving the Arlington area, East Beltway North, that has the right lane blocked as you near the top of the Dames Point Bridge. You will start seeing delays as you approach Murrow, so your drive from Butler up to Heckscher will take you about 15 minutes. And from the FDOT 511 Traffic Center, here's Sherry.
Your drive in from the west side on 10 eastbound has you on the brakes between Lane Avenue and Stockton. So if you're trying to get from Hammond Boulevard to I-95, give yourself at least 10 minutes.
From the Strata Air Conditioning and Heating Traffic Center, I'm WOKV's Jay Bose.
This is 104.5 WOKV, Jacksonville's news and talk.
Live team coverage starts now.
It's 7:30. Good morning. I'm Rich Jones alongside April Davis with continuing team coverage of multiple storylines on this Monday edition of Jacksonville's Morning News. It's August 28th. Three big things you need to know this morning. Governor DeSantis urging preparation ahead of Tropical Storm Idalia.
We have mobilized 1,100 National Guardsmen, and they have at their disposal 2,400 high water vehicles.
Peak local impacts are expected to be felt here in Jacksonville and throughout Northeast Florida throughout the day on Wednesday, with a growing concern about tropical storm force or hurricane force winds. Right now, Baker County is under a hurricane watch. We expect the entirety of the metro area to be expanded into that hurricane watch as early as 11 o'clock this morning. Jacksonville Mayor Donna Deegan says we cannot tolerate hate against our black community.
We have to do everything that we can in this community to bring unity to our city. No more division. No more hate.
The mayor saying she feels a personal failure for having not been able to protect the victims in the deadly Dollar General shooting in Newtown.
Now, weather and traffic from 104.5 WOKV, Jacksonville's news and talk.
From the Action News Jax First Alert Weather Center, I'm Chief Meteorologist Mike Burrish. Timing heavy rain and wind in the WOKV First Alert forecast.
Now, First Alert traffic from the Strata Air Conditioning and Heating Traffic Center.
For you drivers heading out of Orange Park, West Beltway South, I am seeing some rush hour traffic starting to build up, starting after Blanding all the way over to the top of the Buckman Bridge. I'm not seeing any incidents to report, so your drive from Blanding over to I-95 will take you about 18 minutes. And from the FDOT 511 Traffic Center, here's Sherry.
Your drive out of Arlington this morning on the East Beltway northbound has you on the brakes from Murrow all the way past this right lane crash before the top of the Dames Point Bridge. If you're trying to get from Butler Boulevard to Heckscher, give yourself at least 21 minutes.
This report is sponsored by HCA Florida Healthcare. HCA Florida Healthcare is here for everyone in your family at every stage of life, providing comprehensive, personalized care, because healthier tomorrows are what they're all about. Learn more at hcafloridahealthcare.com. From the Strata Air Conditioning and Heating Traffic Center, I'm WOKV's Jay Bose.
Governor DeSantis is urging Florida West Coast residents to get ready for Tropical Storm Idalia, expected to grow and strengthen and move pretty quickly as well as at least a Category 1, 2, and maybe even a powerful major Category 3 storm before landfall. Chief Meteorologist Mike Burrish is standing by in the First Alert Weather Center with an updated outlook on the current forecast and the expectations here locally throughout the day on Wednesday, when the worst of the weather has arrived and what you need to be prepared for is just ahead. WOKV News Time, 7:33. I'm Rich Jones.
I'm April Davis, and officials across the city, as we just spoke to the sheriff, condemning Saturday's hate crime. They are calling it that and investigating it as such at the Newtown Dollar General. WOKV's Shafalka Bhatnagar joins us live now from the scene of that mass shooting.
Here at the scene, we only see one JSO SUV and two sedans that are parked inside the Dollar General parking lot. Right now, that parking lot is taped off, as well as directly across the street, the front yard of 3 homes. There are no memorials with photos or flowers set up here just yet, but the neighborhood came out yesterday when state and city leaders met with the community.
It ain't no black on black crime. It's a hate crime.
That's Councilwoman Jacoby Pittman speaking out, impassioned and to the grieving families here in the neighborhood. If you would like to pay your respects to the community and the families, you can join the group tonight at a vigil at James Weldon Johnson Park, which begins at 6 p.m. Reporting live from downtown Jacksonville, I'm Shafalka Bhatnagar, 104.5 WOKV.
And Sheriff T.K. Waters, who was just with us a few minutes ago live on Jacksonville's Morning News, saying the Dollar General shooter's sickening ideologies do not reflect the greater Jacksonville community.
We are not a community of hate. We stand united with the good and decent people of this city. We reject this inexcusable violence.
He says the shooter appears to have purchased his firearms legally. While he said no red flags would have come up in the shooter's gun purchases, Waters acknowledged background checks need to do a better job identifying gun buyers with bad intentions. When asked about mental illness, the sheriff responded that not everyone who's mentally ill grabs a gun and kills people for no reason. We'll continue to follow the investigation at the local, state, and federal level. And now we turn our attention to the tropics as a hurricane watch is in effect for Baker County, and we expect that to be expanded for the entire metro area. Still to come on this Monday edition of Jacksonville's Morning News, Chief Meteorologist Mike Burrish tracks the peak local impacts, when we expect the worst of the weather to arrive, and how much time you have to prepare for the possibility of those significant winds from this storm. WOKV News Time, 7:36.
The 5-day forecast is brought to you by Wakehoff's Air Conditioning, wakehoffsac.com.
WOKV News Time, 7:38. First Alert Chief Meteorologist Mike Burrish has been giving us the heads up on a potential Gulf system dating back to well over a week ago now, and has been updating throughout. And now that the weekend is through, we really start to focus on the urgency of having a plan and being prepared, Chief. Idalia is expected to go hurricane probably at any moment and could become a major hurricane.
Yeah, that's the official forecast, and really it doesn't matter, Rich, so much what happens over the next 24 hours or so with the intensity of this storm, as it is that this is an unusual one for Jacksonville and northeastern Florida in that while it's a major hit on the west coast, it's a fast-moving hurricane by hurricane standards. The average hurricane's moving 8 to 12 miles per hour. This one will be moving at least 15 to 20 miles per hour to the northeast, and that means it will have less time to weaken by the time it gets to Jacksonville and northeastern Florida. Also, at its landfall, as you mentioned, expected to be a Category 3 with winds greater than 110 miles per hour sustained. It will still be at its peak when it makes landfall and increasing. So it'll takes it longer to unwind when it's a strengthening hurricane at landfall, plus that fast movement to Jacksonville and northeastern Florida. I think this has gotten buried, Rich, quite frankly, in a lot of places and in a lot of areas, and people aren't coming off a big weekend are going to potentially be caught off guard. We certainly don't want you to do that. We don't want you to panic, but we want you to understand this appears to be a kind of storm that we rarely see in Jacksonville and northeastern Florida, and preparation time is now through tomorrow for the potential for hurricane-force wind gusts at least, which would be 74 miles per hour or stronger, late tomorrow night into the day on Wednesday. It would appear about sunrise to sunset will be the peak impacts on Wednesday, really honing in on that period from about 8 or 9 in the morning until about 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon. In the meantime, conditions are just fine this morning and today to get outdoors and get things taken care of. You want to bring in all that stuff that might blow around and impact other people's property and lives. We will have a few showers moving across the area every once in a while through the day today, and we're even seeing a few showers now. On 5-sweep first alert Doppler HD moving into southeastern Duval County, though dissipating now as they move more westbound, and then also parts of St. Johns County from St. Augustine northward up I-95. So don't be surprised if you catch a shower now south of Jacksonville on I-95, and then on and off through the day on what otherwise will be a partly sunny sky. A 7 on the WOKV weather meter, highs in the upper 80s, low 90s for inland areas, and realize that at our beaches there will be a swell from Franklin, which is a powerful hurricane, but 1,000-plus miles to the east of our area, still bringing some waves to our coast, an easterly swell, and a rip current risk as well. The best advice, stay out of the water this week when it comes to our ocean. We'll drop into the 70s tonight and partly cloudy tomorrow. Scattered showers and thunderstorms will gradually increase from south to north through the afternoon tomorrow, and these initial bands may be quite strong with gusty winds, even an isolated tornado chance. But it's really not truly going to be Idalia yet. Highs tomorrow reach the low 90s, and there'll be enough time between bands and especially in the morning to continue to get any and all preps completed. By Wednesday, you got to make sure you are ready to batten the hatches, make sure you are in a safe place, because that's when we have the strongest winds and bands of heavy and gusty showers and thunderstorms with a tornado threat throughout the day that will diminish late in the afternoon. Idalia is at least a fast-moving system. Temperatures will be in the 80s on Wednesday. By Thursday, Idalia's history. It's out of here. Partly sunny skies. There will be a few lingering showers and thunderstorms due to a lot of humidity, but we'll be able to get things moving again with highs near 90 degrees. And Friday, partly sunny, an isolated shower, but largely dry to end the work week, with highs in the lower 90s as we begin to look ahead then to the holiday weekend. I'm Chief Meteorologist Mike Burrish. Join me today beginning at 5 p.m. on CBS 47 and Fox 30 Action News Jack.
So, Chief, with the current forecast and with the current outlook and winds being the greatest concern for you, would you anticipate the greatest impacts here being likely down to trees, lines, and therefore power outages?
Correct. I think trees down and power outages are going to be our biggest problem with this storm. Not as much of a big deal at the beaches because this is coming in from the west, and the storm surge is not going to be a massive deal at this point, but there'll be some. The St. Johns River will be problematic downtown because as Idalia approaches, there'll be a very strong south wind that pulls water all the way from Palatka northward up the St. Johns River through Clay, St. Johns County, then into downtown. I would expect downtown flooding. The positive side is that once the Idalia moves by, we'll have a strong west wind that will have a tendency to evacuate a good part of that water. But until then, we're likely to see flooding downtown And, so wind, Rich, and tornadoes will be the biggest concern later tomorrow night and into the day on Wednesday. And the clock is ticking, Rich.
All right, Chief, appreciate the update. And again, if you happen to lose power, I just want to make sure that we encourage you to have that battery-powered radio and have it set to 104.5 WOKV. The First Alert Weather Team and coverage from CBS 47, Fox 30, Action News Jax will be there for you throughout the duration. So if the power goes out, certainly if the cable goes out, internet is down, and if you're not able to stream, that battery-powered radio, we have seen it over and over again with storms dating back to Matthew and Irma and others when we had widespread power outages. That battery-powered radio can be really, really valuable. So make sure you get it. You still got time to maybe order one off Amazon or get down to the hardware store and pick one up today and have extra batteries on hand. And we'll be sure that we are completely with you throughout the duration of whatever the system happens to bring to Northeast Florida and the state of Florida. Now it is a sunny, dry, tranquil start to the morning. 79 at Jacksonville's severe weather station.
Now, First Alert traffic from the Strata Air Conditioning and Heating Traffic Center.
Heads up drivers leaving the Arlington area and heading towards Ocean Way, East Beltway North. We are still following this crash near the top of the Dames Point Bridge that has the right lane blocked. There is a tow truck on scene, but traffic is still heavily backed up starting before Monument. Your drive from Butler up to Heckscher will take you about 20 minutes. And from the FDOT 511 Traffic Center, here's Sherry.
We're seeing heavier than usual delays as you head out to the beaches on Butler eastbound. You're on the brakes just after Kernan, and you'll stay slow to the San Pablo exit ramp. If you're trying to get from I-95 to A1A, give yourself at least 20 minutes.
From the Strata Air Conditioning and Heating Traffic Center, I'm WOKV's Jay Bose.
Let's connect on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at WOKV News. This is Jacksonville's Morning News.
It's 7:49. Thanks so much for being here on Jacksonville's Morning News. Each and every weekday, Rich Jones and April Davis, we're following multiple storylines, preparations that need to be taken now in advance of what is likely to be at least a Category 2 and maybe Category 3 major hurricane Idalia, and local impacts will happen by midweek and as early as late Tuesday and throughout the day on Wednesday. We just heard Chief Meteorologist Mike Burrish's updated forecast. Follow Talking the Tropics with Mike in the WOKV app or at WOKV.com. And earlier this morning, we sent you a push alert with Mike's podcast, and I listened to it driving in. Actually, I listened to it twice this morning because I wanted to make sure I didn't miss any points. It's about 9 minutes of Mike talking through in great detail the expectations locally, with wind being the single greatest concern that Mike has right now, impacts with the storm. Also want to let you know we're monitoring something in the First Alert Traffic Center, a crash on I-95 South as you are approaching and just past State Road 16. So just past the State Road 16 outlets and before you hit State Road 207. And this crash has taken out 2 right lanes. So while the delays are really acute right now, they're going to stack up pretty quickly as you head south on I-95 out of St. Augustine and into southern St. Johns County. This has taken out 2 right lanes, I-95 south, just beyond State Road 16. Full First Alert traffic update coming up as well. WOKV News time now 7:50 as Jacksonville's only all-news morning show continues. And we want to remind you that the WOKV payroll payout starts today. In 9 minutes is your first opportunity to win $1,000 just by listening. It is that simple. Stay with us and be listening for the WOKV payroll payout, brought to you by Mark Spain Real Estate next.
The weather meter is brought to you by Beard's Diamonds. For a limited time, get 5 years, 0 interest, only at Beard's Diamonds.
Weather and traffic on your way to work or to the classroom on Jacksonville's Morning News.
Welcome back to Jacksonville's Morning News, 7:54 on your Monday morning, and we are keeping you apprised of 2 big stories. One, the mass shooting Saturday, killing 3 people. The FBI investigating it as a hate crime, and we are tracking this system coming into the Gulf of Mexico this morning. We need you to be weather aware, and Governor Ron DeSantis is urging preparation for Tropical Storm Idalia.
In terms of resources, we have mobilized 1,100 National Guardsmen, and they have at their disposal 2,400 high water vehicles, as well as 12 aircraft that can be used for rescue and recovery efforts.
WOKV's Mark Mayfield continues our team coverage.
DeSantis has placed 33 counties under a state of emergency and says he's mobilized 1,100 Florida National Guard members. He's telling Floridians to listen to local authorities, heed warnings, and to expect power outages.
And of course, we will be here all day and for the next 24 to 48 hours, making sure that you know minute to minute what is happening with Idalia. It will be a hurricane. That is the prediction at this point. We don't know if it'll be a Category 2, a Category 3. Chief Meteorologist Mike Burrish is staying on top of it. And we are expecting to have effects here in Northeast Florida. We're looking at rain, we're looking at strong winds and possible flooding.
I've worked with Mike for going on 20 years, and he says this is the kind of storm we rarely see in Jacksonville.
Yeah.
That's the pull quote from his forecast. So be prepared, and we're going to do everything we can to keep you prepared throughout the duration of whatever Idalia happens to bring. The other big story, the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office now providing the full 3-hour timeline of the racially motivated murders at the Dollar General in Newtown Saturday. Action News Jax's Ben Becker with the update.
It started at 12:48 p.m. on Saturday when Paul Murrow pulled up behind the EWU library in a gray Honda Element and put on a mask, a bulletproof vest, and gloves. Then, just before 1 p.m., Paul Murrow drove off towards Kings Road, prompting security to follow him out. Security then flagged down a JSO officer and reported there was a suspicious man on campus. That officer then began processing a be on the lookout, a BOLO. And when the shooting spree began at the Dollar General around 1:08 p.m., Paul Murrow is shown on surveillance video shooting into a black Kia that was parked in front of the store in the parking lot, killing 52-year-old Angela Carr. He then entered the store and continued shooting, killing 2 more people. 19-year-old Anant Lagari Jr., who was a cashier, and 29-year-old Gerald Gallion. And at one point, the shooter then texted his father and said, "Use a screwdriver to get into my room." The father then found a will and a suicide note on Paul Murrow's laptop. He also left behind a racist manifesto. Then, at 3:44 p.m., SWAT confirmed that the shooter was dead after he shot and killed himself.
A vigil is planned for 6 o'clock tonight at James Weldon Johnson Park, across from Jacksonville City Hall.
And there were vigils over the weekend as well, and saying she shares the community's grief. Jacksonville Mayor Donna Deegan offering an apology near the scene of the Dollar General murders.
And I feel a personal responsibility, a personal failure for not having been able to do something to protect you from what happened yesterday. But I want you to know that I am grateful to God for putting me in this position in a time such as this.
Mayor Deegan saying unity is what is needed and that we cannot tolerate hate against our black community in Jacksonville. WOKV News Time is 7:58.
I'm Action News Jax Chief Meteorologist Mike Burrish. Rain begins to slowly return ahead of Idalia in the full first alert forecast in less than 10 minutes.